welcome to today's episode of Couch Chats. I'm with Jamie from Goodbye Tattoos here in Neutral Bay.
Hello.
I've just had a treatment myself, so in the process of getting some
really
tattoos removed, so it did go really well.
Yes.
So yeah, a lot better than I expected. yeah. I think it's a bit scary for people.
It is, because it's the unknown, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
People don't know how it's going to feel. They read all these things online. Oh my God, it's the most painful thing. But you know, we've got pain management options. We've got a cooling machine. We call it Right Down, so you know you don't feel it. We've got stress balls sat behind you, and there are ways around it. You know, you can use numbing creams and things like that. So I always say to my clients, don't let the fear of the pain stop you getting rid of an unwanted tattoo. Do you know what I mean?
And it was over and done with in like a few seconds.
Yeah, I mean,
So
yeah.
it was so fast. I was
Depending on
really
size.
surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, mine's quite small,
Mm.
but I had the first treatment done somewhere else, and it seemed to have taken a lot longer
Yeah.
than it did
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah.
So you're like done. I went, oh,
Yes. And
okay.
when we do cool it down, you almost don't even feel like, you know, because it's so cold, it almost numbs it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I also wanted to have you in today to hear a bit more about your story. I say have you in here. I'm in your office. You're having me in today.
Yeah.
But to hear about your story, very much for the Women in Business series that I'm running at the moment, to find out backstories and how you came from moving from the UK to Australia, going against, you know, ideas of what your parents expected out of your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I come from an Indian background, and 20 years ago it was a lot more difficult for women with an Indian background or a background, you know, culturally, to do something for themselves. And it was an expectation where, you know, you have to get married and have kids, and I suppose I just knew back then that wasn't for me. And so coming to Australia on my own was a challenge. I wanted to do it, but I did it, and then came to Australia. I worked in media, so I've been working in media in the UK, and then I worked in media in Australia, which has given me a lot of experience in sales and marketing, which has helped me with this business. And then I met my husband, and then we sort of decided in 2018, 2017 to launch this business and open in 2019.
So being a woman coming here, the different barriers when you move somewhere else, especially, I guess it'd be scary being a female moving to a foreign country, not having the support of friends or family around you, and then going against cultural, religious beliefs and things like that.
It was an adjustment, because coming from being comfortable, being very comfortable at home, knowing there's food on the table, money, you know, you've got a job, money coming in, to coming to Australia, looking for a job, not having that support network. Obviously I had, we had sort of distant relatives, as you do, everyone does, everywhere in the world, that helped me and put me up for a couple of months while I was finding my feet. It's challenges of looking for a job, making sure you get sponsored, because when you come from the UK to work and live in Australia, you have to be sponsored. So you have to, find work. And in media back then, it was a lot easier to get sponsored, because you could sort of get the job and they're like, we'll sponsor you, but it's not. I don't think it's as easy now as it was 20 years ago, when I first came here. That was a challenge in itself.
How did your family handle you coming here?
I think that it was hard for them to let me go. I think, they wanted me to go down a certain path. I think mum and dad, they've always been quite supportive anyway. There was an expectation when I was younger, but I think when they saw that it wasn't what I wanted for my life, I think then they just really encouraged me to do what I wanted to do. And I think that it helped with the fact that my sister's very independent as well, and she's younger than me, so for her to help pave the way, when she met her husband, he wasn't Indian, at university, to move out with him, I think that really helped my case, because my mum and dad were like, if Mira can do it, then we can't stop them from doing it. So I think the wider community, I think the wider family, the extended family, again, was surprised, but I think a lot of them were quite supportive. I think they were like, wow, okay, you're doing it, well done.
Yeah, and it is really hard to sort of go against family and parents' expectations.
Oh, it is.
And even, I mean, I don't have any cultural background, just Australian. But even for me, it was sort of being brought up that from society anyways, that you got married, you had kids, you know,
that's it.
and that was the same thing. And it wasn't that education was dismissed, but it was everything that you saw on TV or from the community that was sort of the path that you went on, right?
Absolutely.
I had children at 17, so I did do that journey very young. And it's as you get older, you think, no, there's other options.
There are other options.
And you realise that very young that wasn't for you. Obviously, you're married now, so that's for you.
I'm married, but it's but the whole thing around having kids as well. So me and my husband just decided, we didn't want kids. I've never really been maternal, and I felt like back when I was in the UK, I felt like I had to apologise for the fact that I wasn't, not to outrightly apologise, but in myself I was like, why don't I want to have children? What's wrong with me? I haven't got the maternal gene here. Like, do you know what I mean? That's how I felt. But then I came to Australia and I met Pete, and he didn't want kids. I was like, this is meant to be.
But that's also a really good realisation to have, that you don't want to have children, and to have that early on, because for me it was just a given that I was going to have children again, because it was just sort of what I had in my own mind. Obviously had them quite young as well though, but I come across so many people now that choose not to have children, whereas 20 years ago it was that you had to explain yourself, justify yourself, apologise for the fact that you don't want to have children.
Absolutely.
I would say I'm not a maternal person. I found being a mum very challenging. I love my children more than anything, but I always thought, like, hey, you thought, oh, what's wrong with me? I'm not sort of maternal. I feel like that as a mum. Because some days I'm like, this is not, it's not easy.
I know,
it's not something that, comes to me naturally, and I'm more of, I feel like more of the man in the relationship, whereas I like the worker and the things like that. Whereas obviously for you, career, business, and children isn't something that you wanted to, bring into your life. And I respect people's decisions around that.
Thank you. And I think that, there may have been a time in my life years ago where I might have convinced myself I wanted them because that's what was expected.
The expectation,
and you know what? If I had gone down the path where I did marry, from the community, and I did have kids, it's something that I would have. It could have easily happened. It's like a sliding doors moment. I could have,
isn't it? And I think, how would your life have been if you didn't, if you weren't such an independent thinker? If you did marry from the community,
I know,
and had children, where your life would be now.
I know. I just feel like, but I honestly feel like, without sounding like woo-woo or kooky, but I feel like I was put on this earth for a bigger, greater purpose. Do you know what I mean? And not just that. So I think that's what was my driving light. Was like, yes, I need to do something else with my life. Like, I can't just 2.4 children, get married, and then I just didn't want that for myself. And so
And that calling, do you think this is it, or is there something that you're sort of envisioning bigger for yourself?
No, this is it. I think doing tattoo removal and genuinely making a difference to people's lives, I think that I've hit the nail on the head here. And I honestly think that everything that's led me to here, like coming to Australia, meeting Pete, who has been my biggest supporter, because he was the one who pushed me to do this. In the beginning, I didn't know how to run a business. God, I was just like, deer in the headlights. I was like, how do I do this? But he's been the foundation, because we've got an IT business that he runs, and so he's obviously had 5-6 years of running that before we started this. So he's obviously been able to help me with the foundation. We got this place, we painted it, we put the gyprock wall up. So everything we've done, we've built together. But obviously I run this by myself, he runs the IT business. So now, from things I've learned, challenges I've gone through, you kind of, I don't know, you just, sometimes at a light bulb moment you go, right, okay, I've got this now.
How important is it though, the people that come into your life, again, sliding doors moments? If you didn't meet Pete and you met someone else, you could have gone in a completely other direction.
It's so weird, isn't it? You think, what would my life have been like if that hadn't have happened? So, Yeah, and again, not to sound too woo-woo, but I honestly think everything happens for a reason. Like, you know, things are always working out the way they should. You just have to enjoy the process. And that's what I've learned in business as well, is to learn patience, because it's hard to run a business. And the reason people expect so much from their business in the early days is because they want money straight away, they want the client straight away, they want it to be flying straight away. There's no such thing as an overnight success, there's not. But what I've learned in the last couple of years...
Unless you're a hot term girl on TikTok.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. You can have one video that goes viral.
It just baffles me, I'm like, what, anyway.
Yeah, no, it's true. You can have one video that goes viral on TikTok and that's it, you're, you know. But you have to enjoy the
business in
process.
general, it isn't an overnight success.
It's
but
not.
having said, like I see you on TikToks and everything as well, and I love your social media content. But also, like, putting yourself out there like that, you don't know that moment where your life could literally just blow up like that girl did overnight.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's still putting in that work and consistent effort.
It is being consistent, and it's being patient, and, you know, and enjoying the process. And honestly, as soon as I started enjoying, not that I didn't enjoy the process, don't get me wrong, but in the early days, and I'll be honest, I just wanted to open a business, I wanted to help people, but then obviously I wanted it to blow up. I was like, yes, I want it to be an overnight success, but it doesn't happen like that, and it gradually kind of, you know, you kind of learn social media, and people get to know you, you build a brand, and then it kind of just falls into place, and then you've got to enjoy it, you've got to enjoy the process, you've got to enjoy doing the social media, you've got to enjoy, you know, meeting the clients, you've got to enjoy pounding the pavement, introducing yourself to people. Like, that's another thing as well, like meeting the local businesses and the community, that, you know, putting yourself out there, networking, it all comes part of the process. You have to do it, otherwise no one's going to know who you are.
That's right. How long have you been here for now?
Since 2019, so...
Okay, so you've gone through COVID, you survived the pandemic.
Yes.
How was that? Obviously, because tattoo removal is something that you need to physically touch a person.
Yeah, exactly.
How did that impact you?
So we had to close.
Okay.
And there was nothing really in the playbook that said tattoo removal. Because when I phoned up New South Wales Health, they were like, well, you know, doesn't really, because medical you could still stay open. But I just wanted to do the right thing, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to close anyway. But in that time, I was able to just expand my knowledge of, you know, doing something social, or, you know, learning the industry, and I was able to do virtual consultation, so I could still take people on virtual consultation and then get them booked in for when we were back open again.
Yeah. And when you did the training for this, where do you go to train for something like this?
Yeah, so there are more and more places doing it now, but there was a beauty college in is it Kingsford? Is it near Bondi? And we did that. So you have to do online safety training for the machines, and then you have to do 2 days of you know, learning about the skin and how the skin reacts, and then you do actual treatments on, you know, models that come in and want you to do it. And then you just sort of we've got some friends in the industry that have a tattoo removal clinic, and they helped us a lot. So, you know, they sort of used to come in and, you know, sort of just sort of training me up and said, oh, this is how you need to do this, or this is, you know, how, you know, to run it, you know, when people come in and then do the treatments. So I learned a lot from that as well.
Yeah. And I think that's really important in life in general, but also in business, is to surround yourself by the right people, have the right support group, network with people, speak to other people in the industry as well.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Did you find that there was, as a woman, anything that sort of got in the way of being a female business owner, or is it something that for you has just been accepted and very easy to sort of fall into?
I think that the great thing about Australia is that they love to support small business, right? And I think that that's why you know, a lot of small businesses do well, because the general public love to support small business. But I think that in the last 10 years, women in small business or women in corporate business has been, you know, people do support that. So I think that actually helped. You do sometimes, you might sometimes get the odd client that comes in and, because my name's Jamie, they think that it's going to be a bloke opening the door, but I don't think I've had any major barriers. I really don't. I think that's because Australia's really good at supporting small business and women in business as well.
I think it is definitely improving.
It is improving
a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
I know when I first started working, I was in a very male-dominated industry, and women in those higher positions was quite rare. Whereas now, it's true. A lot. There's a lot more women in those higher positions.
Absolutely.
But I also feel like your decision not to have children is definitely helping women step into those higher roles.
Yeah. I think like what you said, like 20 years ago. When I started in media, it was very male-dominated in the UK, and not a lot of female leaders. But then when I came to Australia and I started working in media here, same thing. But then when I started working at Nova, there were so many women in leadership positions that it really did give you, that hope that yes, women can do it. That a lot of women were promoted, into leadership roles at Nova, and I think that they supported a lot of women in those positions. So it helps. I think it helps.
It definitely does help, and that's why I love doing
episodes
like this to, to highlight women in business, and I think representation, in particularly different industries, is really important. To show what women can achieve, what we're capable of, what we can do. Overcoming those barriers of fear, moving from another country, stepping into the unknown, setting up a whole new life in a whole other country, finding love, finding success, and building in the community. Like, what a beautiful story.
Yeah, thank you. And I think I hope that if there is someone out there that's sort of fearful that if they take that risk, it could all just go. I'm just like, take the risk. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And if I can give hope to someone else, yes, just do it.
And I think it's really important what you said before about sticking to what you want out of your life. And don't limit yourself to the expectations and ideas of what other people want for you. It's about being true to who you are, being authentic about who you are.
It's about being authentic, exactly. You have to be authentic, because when you're authentic about who you are and you're true to yourself, that's when your passion comes out, and that's when people will trust you, people will want to listen to you, and I think that you just have to be yourself.
And that's when you'll find your true happiness and true success is when you follow your path and not someone else's.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having a chat with me today. It's been awesome.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. I'm very grateful to do this with you today. So
great. And I'm very grateful to experience looks like I've sprained my wrist, but I'm going to come up with some really cool story now. We're like, Alright, lovely chatting to you.
Lovely chatting to you.